Today, we have a bit of a juicy story and potentially a story that you wouldn't actually expect from this channel because it doesn't actually feature a Dead by Daylight streamer, but rather an Apex Legends streamer. And to explain straight away why I'm covering this streamer, honestly, it's because I wanted to. The way that this guy behaves is absolutely outrageous to me. The things that have happened, I feel very strongly about, and it's kind of made my blood boil on a couple of occasions, and I feel like we need to be aware of this kind of behavior. We need to talk about it, and we need to make sure that we don't just sweep this thing under the rug and normalize it. So that's why I'm making today's video, and without much further ado, let's get into it. Now, our story starts with a clip that was posted on Reddit and Twitter, which basically shows this Apex streamer being absolutely vile to his significant other who is streaming in the same room as him. Now, currently on this guy's channel, that clip has over 215,000 views. And on Twitter, where it was posted by like a news outlet, it currently has 1.7 million views. So a lot of people have seen this. And to get started, I think it's best just to show you the clip. So here we go.
What were you doing outside? Were you looting?
Armor.
Suka, it doesn't take that long. So you were looting. But there's enemies inside that they were fighting. Why are you allowing them to loot? You keep doing this shit over and over. You keep just allowing people to loot and get shit off. Like, I don't get it. I get if you need an armor swap, get an armor swap. But you're in there, like, taking your time. Like, did you forget that they were fighting another enemy?
I did not know.
Suka, who were they fighting then?
I thought that was the last team.
Suka, why are you sitting there thinking that?
Stop talking to that other guy.
No, Suka. No. Why, Suka? No. Right there. Stay on the.
So yeah, not great stuff. And I think the main things that people were mad about was, one, the level of viciousness that he shows. Because to be honest, I feel like if he had shown that level of anger to anybody, there probably would have been a bit of uproar because it's kind of just disrespectful and horrible. But the major thing that people were mad about was the fact that he was speaking to his wife in that manner. Because the person he's talking to, the person he's berating so heavily in that video, is his wife. And what caused further upset, even past that, if it was possible, was what happened when somebody in his chat actually called him out for his behavior.
I'm not treating my significant other like that. I treat my wife amazing. Thank you very much. All right. You want to know more about my wife and the country she's from and how she knows how women are actually treated compared to, you know, the free worlds of, you know, the Western society? Why don't you go over to her channel and fucking ask her?
Let's talk about what his justification was, which could essentially be boiled down to, my wife would receive it worse in the country where she's from? Right, okay. That roughly translates to, America, I can treat my wife how I want because this is a free country and she would be treated worse where she's from. America! And unfortunately, this kind of beratement that he shows in this clip is not an uncommon thing on his channel. For example, here he is getting very mad over her character choice.
Suka, why are you Vantage again? Pay attention. 2 times in a row, dumbass. Yeah, I said you're not gonna do it. There you go. We go doing it again. Good shit.
Feels a bit unnecessarily harsh in my opinion, but all right. And this story just kind of blew up. Everybody has an opinion on it. And this person, because unfortunately they were named in the original article and on the Reddit, has received an influx of viewers to his channel. And that leads us on to one more thing which I wanted to mention about this video. You may have noticed by now that I am hiding this person's identity as I always do. And to be honest, it's because there was a lot of hate in the stream just after this all came out. So while I was researching him, for example, I clicked into the stream where he, you know, just after it all went live. And here's just a snapshot of the chat. And I, you know, fair warning, some of this is a little bit distressing. Trash, swine, garbage, human. All right. Please take your life. People just reiterating, take your life. Divorce is on the way. You're a pussy. Wife beating little pussy hole, subhuman garbage. You're a pussy, etc., etc. There was a lot of hate being sent over. And many of you watching this may be like, yeah, well, he deserves it. You know, he's being horrible to his wife. But how does this help? In my opinion, it doesn't. Sending hate to this guy doesn't help anything. And I'm not going to feed into that. I'm not going to make it worse by providing the name to people who may not have seen it and just making it even more known who this guy is. So that's why his identity will be hidden throughout the rest of this video, as well as his wife's identity as well. Now, it has to be said that not everybody was hateful. A lot of people just genuinely seem to want to talk to him and kind of get, you know, his thinking and his ideas on why he thinks it's okay to behave like this. Because after this all came out, he took no responsibility. He took no accountability. He did not once apologize. And he has doubled, tripled, quadrupled down multiple times, which we'll see a little bit later. For example, somebody came in and asked him why he couldn't have said things calmly, which I completely agree with. If you have criticism to give somebody, there's no reason why you can't tell them calmly, nicely, respectfully, rather than just screaming it at them and hoping that they take it in.
That's you and your personal things, right? Why couldn't I have told my wife calmly? I could have. But then that's just a preference of opinion, right? You're sitting there saying why I couldn't have said it calmly, and it's just preference right there, right?
It's preference? You know, I would prefer that people speak to me respectfully and nicely. Yeah? Okay. I guess you've got a point. What if you took accountability? Do you know what that is? Have you ever praised her or blamed yourself? It's never your fault, right? Which seems like a fair question. You know, like what we saw in that clip originally, that's not the first and only time that this happens. This guy regularly blames his wife for a bunch of things that she does in the game, and he never blames himself. So this is a fair question to ask, and this is what he said in response.
Right? So accountability for what you feel is not what I should take accountability for. Right? You're here because you feel something. Right? That's... You want to change that feeling? It's completely up to you. Right?
I think they're here because of the actions. They may feel a certain way about it, but your actions are what you should be taking accountability for, not their feelings. You've kind of like taken the responsibility and just pushed it onto somebody else and been like, no, that's your problem. You need to deal with that. Rather than actually acknowledging that you could have been in the wrong in any capacity to begin with. The same person then asks, and how do you feel when you're constantly negative and berating someone else for a game, in capitals? Don't you think it's low? Games are meant to be enjoyable. Which again, fair point. And this person is approaching it all very well. No hate, just genuinely asking questions. And this is his response to that.
Beratement would be mean that I'm putting her down. I've never once put her down, okay? Second of all, we're not playing a game.
Yes, you are.
Here, in this stream and in this household here, right? We like to take competitive gaming seriously, right? Some people like to take chess seriously. Some people like to take coin collecting seriously. It's not up for you to judge. We're here live. If you enjoy it, that's great. If you don't like it, that's great. We really don't give a shit. Like, we don't. And then your only emphasis is on then. It's my wife. Well, yes, it's my wife. It's also my best friend. The ignorance of you to think that we don't talk outside the room, that we're not just completely normal human beings outside and we have conversations, that's on you and that's how you feel. Those are your assumptions. That's how you all want to get all uppity, 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 uppity. I can't help that. We cannot help that. We cannot force you to change your mind. No more than you can jump on someone's channel and type away furiously for us to apologize or anything like that. It's just not, right? If you maybe listened more and you tried to understand, that would be great. But if you don't want to, then just leave.
I feel like this guy does like, he just jumps from one thing to the other, and there's no common thread between them. I don't understand. I feel like he didn't read the message. When, you know, people coming into your stream and asking questions about how you behave, that is them trying to understand. That is literally the definition. I get taking a game seriously. Okay, I get it. And, you know, if you want to take a game seriously, especially something like Apex Legends, which from what I understand has a competitive game mode. But if you want to play the competitive mode and take that seriously, yeah, fair play, you crack on. No one is saying that you can't take a game seriously. People are saying that you can't attack your wife when she does something wrong. Like, if somebody screws up, it may be frustrating, but they're still a human. You know, they're still a person. And for you to sit there and violently verbally attack her like what we've seen in the clips and some of the clips I'm going to show you a little bit later, it feels like you are taking it too seriously. There's a difference between taking it seriously and going way too far, I think. Another comment comes in from somebody else who says, the toxicity towards your team, the unnecessary rage, and the fact that it wasn't even in a high-level lobby. Now, again, I had to kind of ask around about this, but as I understand it, this guy is in a gold lobby, which isn't high. So apparently the level of stress he shows isn't necessary. Again, can't comment on that, but that's just a bit of context on what they mean by high-level lobby.
Toxicity towards my team. So what people say is not toxicity.
Yes, it is.
You need to get that through. When and I are playing a ranked game, a competitive game, and our teammate does whatever they want, that is being toxic. Beza, how I said it does not constitute anything. That's how you feel. The tone of my voice, that's on you. You're judging me for who I am. I'm not aggressive. That's all things you feel. Right there. You're telling me who I am. I love it. You're just telling me how I feel right now. Do you not see how fucking narcissistic and hypocritical that is? You're telling me as a human being who I am and how everything it is just because a clip, just because you're talking to me now, based.
At that point, he mutes himself, so it kind of goes off. But let's talk about what he said, because, oh, the irony. So first of all, his comment about how there's it's no toxicity in what you said. This is a common thread he has, the idea that words don't mean anything and words aren't harmful, which is complete horseshit. And then he goes on this spiel about like saying how other people feel is how they feel, and they shouldn't be holding him accountable for how they feel. Like, your actions still require responsibility and accountability, okay? Just because these people feel something about your actions doesn't negate the fact that the actions happened in the first place. You still need to acknowledge that you made a mistake or that you did something with these actions. They don't just go away because somebody has feelings about it. And then he says, you're telling me how to feel, when no one is telling him how he feels. People are just saying you were being aggressive. That's not telling him how he feels. That's observing, stating a fact. It's all over the place. And this is what I mean with this guy, with his justification and how he behaves. It is all over the place all of the time. There is never any actual sense to it. It's like he dances around the questions that people ask him. There's never any accountability. There's never any responsibility. And from what I've seen, there still hasn't been. And just to kind of solidify that, this is a clip from a later stream from a couple of days ago. I think it was like yesterday. And somebody asks him, okay, so let me ask you this. Are you free from mistakes? Do you screw up in Apex sometimes? Because genuinely, this guy doesn't ever let on that he does.
I have never once sat there and said, hey, Suka, I can do this without you.
That wasn't the question.
I remind my wife every time. I'm an advocacy for team play. So when I'm sitting here and I'm having these upsets with my wife because I'm trying to teach her to play as a team, and she's always off looting, she's forgetting, she's doing what she wants. And that's not being a team. That's not how you go for the win. Right? And I've never said once I'm better than anyone or anything like that. Just been doing it for a very fucking long time. I know what I'm talking about.
Do you know more than other people?
Right? That's just what it comes down to, right? And when did I ever say, hey, my wife, it is your fault? Never once. Never once said it was her fault. Those are not narcissistic, and you clearly don't even know the definition of narcissism. I'm a very empathetic person.
Honestly, the biggest thing that stands out to me about this guy is his level of delusion and his level of complete just blindness to everything. Like, he has thousands of people at this point coming into his chat and being like, hey, you're doing something wrong here. Yeah, maybe the way you're talking to your wife isn't okay. And he's like, no, you're all wrong. Let's dodge the question that somebody's just asked me and completely go off onto something else. Somebody says, do you ever make mistakes? And he switches it to, have you ever heard me say I don't need my wife? Oh, and his like delusion and complete blindness doesn't only extend to how he treats his wife. There's also this clip which I found.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, because you know my name is Ranjit, okay? I am from South India, okay? Okay, now everybody pay attention, okay? Hello, my name is Ranjit. I'll be your on-star navigational guide. I would promise take us to the promised land, okay? Akbar and all that noise. What, you got an issue with that too?
You know, funnily enough, I think people may have an issue with a little bit of casual fucking racism. Don't know why, just a guess, maybe. And then just to kind of round it all up, we have this little tidbit from him, which I think is really heartfelt, really lovely.
I will not stop yelling at my wife if she fucks up in a competitive setting on a fuck up. That was carelessness. And if you have a problem with that, then off. I don't care.
Cool, man. What a hill to die on. You crack on and do that, but I somehow predict that's not going to work out for you. Now, obviously, when these clips came out, a lot of the focus was on him and how he treats his wife. But some people did ask the question, well, how does his wife treat him? Well, I was actually interested in this myself. So I found her stream and I went through some of her streams and her clips to see if she ever mentions it, if she ever acknowledges it, or if she actually returns the favor with how he treats her. And I did actually find a couple of clips. So there's the first one, which was just in a random part of her stream, and I'm just going to let it play.
Really? Oh, yeah. You picked it, so I'm mad at you.
Why? What the?
Because you took that ice 301 from that bin, motherfucker. Thank
you. No, you just went and exaggerated there, Sladger. Right? That's what you think.
He has a smile on her face, and then there's a little giggle afterwards. It feels a little bit more playful, but I did find another clip of her which had a little bit more of like a angry energy to it, I guess. I'm just going to play it and see what you guys think.
How much damage you did?
How much damage did I do? 255.
Luca did 417.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. Where is your damage? You're compared to mine. There is no damage. Look at me. Look at me. See, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking to you.
Interestingly, that was actually clipped by her just after all of this came out after him. I just a thing to note which caught my attention. It seemed a bit like over the top, almost like it was proving a point. I don't know, like to me, it just kind of felt like she was really going above and beyond to kind of match his energy with how he talks to her. Overall, I couldn't really find anything that matched the same energy. She calls him out a couple of times and has a little bit of the same anger, but it feels a lot more playful, a lot more giggly. You know, it's very different from how he approaches it, where he's talking to a child. The reason I wanted to look into her side of it was because this story has raised a lot of concerns about her well-being. And a lot of people were even going as far as to label it as abuse and send domestic violence and abuse hotlines to her chat. But before we get into my thoughts on that, there are two more things I want to show which kind of influenced my idea on what was happening with this couple. So the first thing that I wanted to show was what happens when somebody in his chat mentions abuse, because it happens frequently. A lot of people say that he is abusing her, and I wanted to show what he does sometimes.
That's not abuse. Come over here right now, right into the mic, please. That look weird. Don't make it, when you hesitate, you make it look weird.
Are you?
I'm serious. Every time you hesitate, it makes it look weird. Tell them, do you feel abused? Rate it? No, please.
I don't.
Oh my God.
Well, one major thing in there really raised a red flag to me, and that was the fact that she kind of, when she hesitates, he berates her for it. And I feel like that's the last thing you want to berate somebody on in this scenario, taking too long to say no to that question. And then the second thing, which I wanted to mention, was that this is not actually the first time that this has been in the news, and it's not the first time that people have been talking about it. This was actually first reported in a completely different incident back in May of this year. The same streamer was called out for the exact same behavior. Now, I wanted to touch on this article, but there is a bit of an issue in that the original clip, the main clip that people were talking about, has been since deleted. But there are a couple of quotes in the article which give you an idea of some of the things he said. So apparently he was cussing at his wife while blaming her for any problems they've encountered in the game. He says, and this is a quote, "This is part of why women have such trouble in games. Your mentality is based on emotions because men never experience emotions and then act on them." I did, however, manage to find the second part of the video, which was spoken about and what a lot of people had issue with, which I'm going to show you now.
I'm more like using my abilities, not using my art.
My abilities. Yeah, and you screw us over in a fight every time. Because you keep throwing down traps in buildings that I don't ask you to throw them down to. But most importantly, at times when I know I'm trying to be quiet, here you go, back at your picking again, you just start throwing traps. I'm going to leave if you're going to do that. Okay? I don't understand right here. So, everyone, I want you all to know that my wife, she picks at her knuckles so much that she cuts them. And she's doing it because she's stressed.
So the general gist of the video is him just berating her, as he always does, about choices in games, this and that and the other. Basically, you know, just telling her she did everything wrong. But the part that really irks people about this, and I feel is important to bring up, is how casually he mentions the self that she inflicts. He mentions that she's picking at the knuckles. And he just declares it to everybody on stream. He's like, I want you to know she does this. And then the most ironic thing is that he says when she's stressed. Just, again, tying into that obliviousness that he has, where he's sat there berating her and doesn't think, I wonder why she's stressed. Now, I want to go back to the abuse allegations that a lot of people were throwing around and mention the fact that a lot of people are doing this after only watching the one clip. You know, they don't do any other research about the guy, about the woman, about the situation, their relationship, the streams, anything like that. They just start throwing the word around just based off essentially 1 minute snapshot of their life. Now, was it wrong what he did? 100%, absolutely. I'm actually an advocate for us moving away from this type of language and attitude towards anybody, whether or not he's talking to his wife or a friend. But I don't think we can conclude whether or not this person is abusive based on a 1 minute snapshot of somebody's life. It just feels like too big of an accusation to make based on so little information. You know, if you're going to be the type of person to go and say this in his chat or her chat, then you need to make sure that you're doing your research. You need to make sure that you've actually got things there to provide a foundation as to why you're saying that. Because those kind of accusations will not only negatively affect his life, but they will also negatively affect her life as well. However, after watching a lot more of his content and her content, I would say that there are a lot more red flags there. You know, if this was a friend of mine or if I had just come across their stream randomly, I would probably be concerned myself. And I really hope that he kind of sees the error in his ways and works to bettering that and to treating his wife with more respect. I think sometimes when it comes to video games, when we're either playing against somebody or playing with somebody, it's kind of easy sometimes to forget that those are real humans with real feelings. These people will make mistakes, just like you will, and they may not be as good at the game as you are either. And that's fine for them to do, for them to make those mistakes. You know, it is just a game, and I get, you know, taking it seriously, but I do feel like there is a line that you should make sure you don't cross. Now, this isn't to say that you can't give criticism. Of course you can. You know, you can always give criticism. That's the best way for people to learn, is if other people who may be more experienced or better than them in something, give them lessons, help them, educate them. But there is a difference between criticizing somebody and berating somebody. One of them is helpful. One of them is harmful. And this guy really, really needs to learn the line between the two and understand that he should only be given one and should stop giving the other. And that brings us to the end of the video. And you know what? I'm really, really interested to hear what you guys think about this one. I was quite nervous to make it because obviously it differs from my usual. This guy is somebody outside of Dead by Daylight, but I am keen to call out toxicity in any environment, in every game, because let's face it, it's not just limited to one game. And we see it everywhere on Twitch, unfortunately. So let me know what you guys think. Would you be interested in seeing more content like this? And of course, let me know your thoughts on this guy down in the comments. I'm aware that many people are going to know who this is, but I still ask that you don't put this guy's name in the comments. If you do, you will be deleted and blocked from the channel. So please just be respectful of that. And of course, if you like the video, please do leave a like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.
So let me break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up, I ain't never giving up. I'm taking that crown from you.